Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. IRS provides tax relief for victims of Oregon wildfires. October 15th deadline. Other dates extended to January 15th. IR 2020-215, September 17, 2020, Washington. Victims of the Oregon wildfires and straight-line winds that began on September 7th now have until January 15, 2021 to file various individual and business tax returns and make tax payments, the Internal Revenue Service announced today. The IRS is offering this relief to any area designated by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. There's a link to FEMA here, as qualified for individual assistance. Currently, this includes Clackamas, Douglas, Jackson, Klamath, Lincoln, Linn and Marion counties in Oregon, but taxpayers in localities added later to the disaster area will be automatically receive the same filing payment relief. The current list of eligible locations is always available on the Tax in Disaster Situations page on IRS.gov. There's a link to that here, so obviously I probably did not pronounce the names well, so you probably want to go to the link here and see the list for yourself and see the updates as they are made. The tax relief postpones various tax filing and payment deadlines that occurred starting on September 7, 2020. As a result, the affected individuals and businesses will have until January 15, 2021 to file returns and pay any taxes that were originally due during this period. This means individuals who have a valid extension to file their 2019 return due to run out on October 15th, 2020 will now have until January 15th, 2020 to file. So if you had an extension, if you filed the extension, you could have filed the extension up through July because we had the extended time period of the normal filing, but the normal extension date was there, so that October 15th deadline, if on extension for the individual tax filing, would fall into this extended category. The IRS noted, however, that because tax payments related to these 2019 returns were due on July 15, 2020, those payments are not eligible for this relief. So there's a difference between the payments and the penalties and interest related to the payments and the extension and penalties and interest related to the extension. Because the payments were due by July, which was before this problem took place, the IRS will not give, looks like, relief for the payments being late, but will give relief for the extended time period to file. The January 15, 2021 deadline also applies to quarterly estimated income tax payments due September 15, 2020, and quarterly payroll excise tax returns normally due on November 2, 2020. It also applies to tax-exempt organizations operating on a calendar year basis that had a valid extension due to run out on November 16, 2020. Businesses with extensions also have the additional time, including, among others, calendar year corporations whose 2019 extension ran out on October 15, 2020. In addition, penalties on payroll and excise tax deposits due on or after September 7th or before September 22nd will be abated as long as the deposits are made by September 22nd, 2020. The IRS Disasters Relief page, there's a link to that here, has details on other returns, payments, and tax-related actions qualified for additional time. The IRS automatically provides filing and penalty relief to any taxpayer with an IRS address of record located in the disaster area. Therefore, taxpayers do not need to contact the agency to get this relief. They shouldn't need to do anything. However, if an affected taxpayer receives a late filing or tax payment penalty notice from the IRS that has an original or extended filing, payment, or deposit due date falling within the postponement period, the taxpayer should call the number on the notice to have the penalty abated. So in other words, you shouldn't need to do anything. They should do this by your address and be okay with it. But if you get a letter saying, hey, you got a penalty in this area, and you're saying, hey, I was in the disaster area, if they made a mistake and sent out the letter and charged, then you want to call the notice on the letter and say, hey, you know, I'm in this area, and therefore I shouldn't be subject to the penalties and interest. So it should be okay, but if you get the letter, then you can contact them and follow up with it. In addition, the IRS will work with any taxpayer who lives outside the disaster area, but whose records necessary to meet a deadline occurring during the postponement period are located in the affected area. Taxpayers qualifying for relief who live outside the disaster area need to contact the IRS at 866-562-5227. This also includes workers assisting the relief activities who are affiliated with a recognized government or philanthropic organization. Individuals and businesses in a federally declared disaster area who suffered uninsured or unreimbursed disaster-related losses can choose to claim them on either the return for year of loss occurred, in this instance 2020, return normally filed next year, so the 2020 return, or the return for the prior year, which in this case would be 2019. So if you haven't filed, then you might have still the option for 2019 if you haven't filed it because you're on extension for 2019 and whatnot, or on the year it happened, which is 2020, which you wouldn't typically file until 2021. Be sure to write the FEMA declaration number, which is 4562, for wildfires in Oregon on any return claiming a loss. See publication 547. There's a link to that here for details. The tax relief is part of a coordinated federal response to the damage caused by wildfires and straight-line winds and is based on local damage assessment by FEMA. For information on disaster recovery, visit disaster assistance.gov. There's a link to that here. There'll be a link to this in the description.